right. Well, welcome to the Be Vital podcast. I'm your host, Marcia Hawkins, along with Stephanie Nascimento, owner and founder of Be Vital in Hadley, Massachusetts. So welcome aboard, Stephanie.
Hello, Marcia. How are you today?
How are you?
I'm doing great.
And we're live today.
Yay! First time.
Usually we just cannot coordinate our glam squads to get us ready
That's true.
for the podcast. But after that lovely drip you gave me over the weekend, I thought, yeah, let's do it. We can do it. No.
Oh, good.
We'll
I
talk
hope
about
that.
those in a minute. So today we're going to be talking about the root cause as to why people struggle with losing weight and some of the options that we have available to them. So a little bit about me. I'm one of the co-owners at Elevate Living Studio, which is another satellite location for Be Vital. We're located in South Deerfield, Massachusetts. Stephanie's located in Hadley, and she's at Elevate quite frequently. And one of the things that we offer, well, a couple of things that we offer, are the options for people losing weight. And I love the fact that we have so many different programs for people, because it's not a one size fits all, which we'll talk about. And most importantly, we're dedicated to getting at the root cause as to why people are not successful in their weight loss journey. So we're going to talk about that. Yeah, let's get right into it. Let's talk a little bit about, some of the reasons why people struggle so much with trying to get that weight off.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is something that is incredibly important for folks to understand and not just expect that any program is going to work for them and then compare them to, themselves to someone else or their friend next to them that is having a different result from a program, or, whether that's a better result or not such a good result, right? The reason why that's so important is because, number one, everyone's different, but the pathophysiology, the chemistry inside someone is so incredibly important. And if you don't understand that, you can kind of feel like you're banging your head against a wall,
Yeah.
not getting those results. Yeah.
The other thing I think that happens with a lot of people that I talk to is when they start a program, they struggle with staying on it. Sometimes they have instantaneous results, especially if you're doing a very strict no carb diet. You'll usually lose a few pounds in a few days, and that's mostly water. Agreed?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that, that's where they'll get the results right away. And even if they can maintain that, even for a good duration of time, in a lot of cases, it's not sustainable, and they end up not being able to do it. And unfortunately, with a strict no-carb diet, they tend to gain that weight back. And I know anybody listening to this that's tried it is shaking their head going, oh yeah, I've done those diets 4 times. I've lost the weight and gained it all back with interest. So the low-carb diet, the strict no-carb diet, the Mediterranean diet, the South Beach diet, the keto diet. I mean, they just go on and on and on. What do you see as the number one reason why those diets fail time and time again?
Well, because they're hard to keep up, so they have these strict rules, and if a person doesn't identify with it as a major life change and lifestyle that they can really embrace long term, then it's incredibly hard to keep that weight off. But with that being said, if it's a program that corrects some of the root causes while you're going through the journey, then you're left with a different atmosphere, an environment that your body can really thrive, again, if that maintenance plan looks like it can be a healthy one. So that's the most common question I get is, am I going to gain the weight back? Of course, everyone wants to know that. I can start this program, but am I going to gain it back? And my question to them is, I don't know. Are you going to go back to what you were doing before? And that is really the biggest question. And people do slide back into old habits, right? That's a given. So to understand that that's part of it, that you might kind of go back to whatever that, favorite food is that you wanted to have on a stressful day, or, I mean, that could be, a glass of wine or a bottle of wine. Knowing what your triggers are and what you're going to do about it is, again, crucial. But you need to understand what the root causes are first before you can truly identify, what you're going to do in maintenance to keep it off.
So I'm guessing part of the key is that if you're going to invest your time and money and energy into a weight loss program, it really needs to be sustainable to who you are. So selecting the right plan, and I think that's where we come in. We want to identify that. Is it a metabolic issue why you can't lose weight? Is it maybe you're on a medication that one of the side effects is that you're going to gain weight, that you can gain weight on that medication? Or are you a stress eater? Are you an emotional eater? I think by identifying why they are overweight to begin with, even if it's just, vanity pounds or whatever, typically I think if people can identify specifically why they are needing to lose weight and eliminate that, any diet plan is going to be successful. But also if it's structured and tailored to what your needs are, because everybody's going to be different. What might work for you may not work for me. What might work for even someone biologically, with the same DNA, like a family member, it may not be the same. Everybody is so different. And we live our lives pretty parallel in a lot of cases. You can talk to 10 people and you could get 10 different daily caloric intake strategies, and none of them are going to align. So, just in talking with some people this morning, we were talking about weight loss, and we were talking about different people and, what I would recommend for them for what they should do. And it was really shocking what some people's idea of a healthy diet was, as opposed to somebody who truly did have a healthy diet.
Oh, yeah.
Some people think by grabbing muffin and Dunkin' Donuts coffee colada that, well, I didn't put a lot of sugar in it and I didn't put any cream, or I didn't put butter on the muffin or whatever. It really depends on how you metabolize and everything. So I think that, and I've interviewed quite a few people with different diet programs, ironically, and to me, all of them had one thing that was lacking. They didn't get to the root cause as to why they gained the weight. Mm-hmm. And more importantly, they did a diet that was not sustainable. In our local area, I want to say 5 years ago, a program went through, and it was I think they called it the 5-in-1. And so what you had to do is you had to eat what looked like a little granola bar. To me, I called it candy bars because they tasted very sugary to me. I wasn't trying to lose weight, but in order to interview the person on the radio show, I wanted to understand it and know what I was talking about. Sure. So you had to eat every 2.5 hours, and you had to eat these 5 I called them candy bars, throughout the day. And then you did what was called a lean and green for dinner. So lean protein and some greens, and that's what you would eat. And it went through the area, and people were losing massive amounts of weight. Mm-hmm. And my big question was, is it sustainable?
Right.
Oh, yes, it's totally sustainable. And technically, she was right. It is sustainable. However, you really had to stay on that program religiously in order for that to work. And I'm just guessing that 99.9% of the population is not going to be able to eat like that the rest of their life.
Right. Right. Yes. If it is some of it was prepackaged food, right? Mm-hmm. So So, you really have to be able to, replace that with something you're going to prepare on Sunday for the entire week, right? Mm-hmm. Or work on what am I going to do in a jam and know those places. So if you've been following the show and following us, I've been in weight loss for 14 years now, and we have gone through lots of interviewing and coaching and bridging people from weight loss mode into maintenance. And one of the most fun things to do actually is looking at our area and deciding, where are we going to stop in a jam? You have 5 minutes. Where are you going to go? What are you going to get? Let's look up the calories. Let's look up the macronutrients. How long do you think that's going to sustain you, and develop a plan, because you need emergency plans built into your maintenance. Absolutely. 150%. Along with exercise plan and, good mindful eating and all of the things, right? And often any program will require some tune-ups as well, and just to kind of know that that's part of it. You need to tune your system. You need to make sure that you're not letting the bag of Oreos creep in or the bag of potato chips creep in. And if so, how are you going to come in? How are you going to identify that and then nip it right then and there and come up with a plan? So you're going to maybe replace it with a sweeter option for fruit, like some berries at night with a piece of dark chocolate or something like that. So really having those plans in place.
Well, that kind of, as you're speaking, it reminded me that unfortunately, I think when we're in our teens and our 20s and our 30s, we metabolize much different than we do as we age. But unfortunately, if you were able to pretty much eat whatever you wanted when you were younger, and you don't all of a sudden recognize that you can't continue to eat that way as you get older. I mean, because your metabolism slows down, you just process things differently. So we find, in talking with, I just had a girl message me and she was like, I'm in perimenopause and I'm gaining weight and I cannot get it off. So you have things like that, hormonal changes, metabolic changes, like I said, medications that you are now getting introduced for one reason or another.
Right.
And all of a sudden you find yourself 10, 20 pounds heavier than you were in your 30s and 40s. And people, it's not really their fault in some level, because if for 20, 30 years you've been able to kind of do and eat what you want, and all of a sudden you can't do that anymore. I mean, I think it's a very, very hard thing to circle back to and deprogram yourself into eating in a completely different way. And a lot of us grew up on processed foods. That's just what our moms made. It's like whatever. And it really has only been in the last few, I would say maybe the last decade, where they're really scrutinizing our food sources and how they're prepared. And now it's almost like a taboo to eat processed food, yet a lion's share of the population still does, out of convenience. So, some people say, oh, at the holidays, I always gain so much weight. And then you have people say, yeah, but then in the summertime with all the barbecues, I gain weight then. And then in some of the holidays in the spring, I start gaining weight. And, it's basically, there's never a good time.
There's never a good time.
So it has to be, in my opinion, it has to be a complete lifestyle transformation for any diet to work. We're just here to provide you with the tools that will assist that lifestyle modification. So not only are you going to be successful, but we're going to give you the tools that allows you to sustain that long term.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing, and it's a really fun thing. It's a fun thing to offer that mirror for folks. I mean, I don't know how often you feel this way, Marcia, but I when I'm the patient and I catch myself, or client, when I catch myself hearing something from the facilitator or the coach or the doctor tell me that, I'm like, oh my gosh, of course. Like, how come I didn't think about that? Regarding myself, I can think about it for others, but for me, it's almost like blinders go up and you're not really seeing the true story or the big picture. When you want to change something about your health or take a step, I mean, this is not just for health, right? This is for finances and every big decision. It's really important to have somebody on the other side, the expert, that's going to ask the right questions and interview enough to prompt those questions to come out so that you can identify through that mirror what the problems are.
Yeah, I want to bring up something else too. You have to be honest with yourself. Self-reflection is a beautiful thing. And I know some of the products and programs that we offer at Be Vital and Elevate can be life-changing for people, but they've got to be willing to change their life in order for them to be the vehicle they need to get where they want to be, what their goal weight is. And not only are you offering the ability for people to finally get that weight, that monkey off their back of weight loss. It really is a big problem for a lot of people.
Yes.
And being able to remove that for them, it takes work on both sides. Again, the products and services and also that lifestyle change. But I think sometimes people will view a weight loss program as, oh, if I just do this, I don't have to do anything else. And it just doesn't work that way. Whether you decide to do the GLP-1, which is the magic shot, in my opinion. And there's so many other benefits besides weight loss with the GLP-1s, and that's for another program. But the other holistic, natural approach that we offer at the studio and at your place, but it does require you, the client, the patient, taking that that product or, regimen and really applying what you need to do. Because without the full package, without the full matrix, you're just not going to get the results. And even if you do, you're probably not going to be able to sustain it.
Right.
So one other thing I wanted to bring up. I love talking about this because I know how hard it is for people. I mean, I have a few friends that have really struggled with their weight their whole life. And I would love nothing more than to wave a magic wand and have it disappear. And in some cases, I think the GLP-1s and, one of the products that we offer can be that magic wand if we can get people to the table on that. But what would you say, what are like the top 5 reasons why people truly cannot get the weight off?
Ooh, top 5. Yeah, that's a great question. Metabolism and hormones is probably the number one. And that is not just reproductive hormones. I'm also talking about stress hormones. And we don't talk about that enough on a day-to-day, but stress levels, hormone levels, sleep hygiene. Sleep is a huge one that is not getting enough credit. Sleep is huge. And GI. So your GI system, whether it's the microbiome, the environment of your gut, or whether it's that you had your gallbladder taken out and you're eating the wrong foods and or a malabsorption issue. So
How about smoking and alcohol? I mean, to me, those kind of are up there. Like I talk to a lot of people and they're like, I know when I did my cryo, I wasn't supposed to have. And then they tell me that they've had large pizza and 3 beers. And it's not conducive to what we do.
Alcohol is a really big one for many different reasons. It negatively impacts your metabolism. It also contributes to insulin resistance. So directly on the metabolism then is, insulin resistance. I was actually listening to someone speaking about macronutrients yesterday and how to figure out where alcohol fits in macronutrients. And it was quite fascinating the amount of carbs it equals to, even though it has no carbs. So that big myth that everyone is talking, that they reference quite a bit, oh, well, it's alcohol, it doesn't have any carbs in it. If you're talking about vodka, for example. Right. Well, the equation, when you put it into how it affects the metabolism, is very different. It contains quite a few carbs if you're thinking in terms of how your body metabolizes. So that's a really big factor. And of course, the other big thing that we should probably be talking about is how our fat cells operate. So fat cells try to sequester toxins, and with alcohol being the toxin it is, in order to protect the organs from the toxins, fat cells want to get big to sequester that inside of them and to protect the organs. I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're consistently consuming alcohol, you're not going to be able to get rid of those toxins and keep your fat cells down.
Well, that's interesting because I say this all the time. Our bodies are designed to heal. And of course, the body's going to go into overdrive to protect it from that toxin. So that makes perfect sense. But I'm not sure. I think this is my take. People intellectually understand what we're telling them. Like you can tell them, this is what you need to do. This is how this program works. And this is going to be the result if you do A, B, C, D, E, right? I mean, pretty simple, right?
Right.
The problem is emotionally, they can't accept it.
That's right. And we didn't even mention that in one of the big 5 root causes.
Yeah, well, I knew I wanted to talk about like the 5 biggest culprits for people, and I knew sleep. You cannot pick up so you can't look at any social media post without them talking about the importance of sleep. And I think it's very underrated for people. I think that a lot of people don't. I think people are scrolling endlessly at night on their phones if they can't sleep. They're maybe consuming alcohol before they go to bed. There's just a number of things that are sleep disruptors. They're not going to bed at the same time every night. I know that sounds very strict, but the reality of it is it's not that hard to go to bed at 10 o'clock every night. It's really not. I mean, I don't think people have that many things going on at 10 o'clock that they can't get to bed unless they're working. But really getting yourself into that. And then, like you said, the gut health, if you're smoking cigarettes or vaping or drinking alcohol every day, or even if you're an occasional drinker, it's still going to have the same effect. And in fact, you can almost undo everything that you do with just occasional drinking as well. So it's really about making, in my opinion, Tony Robbins talks about this all the time. It's all in the power of decision. And when you finally make that decision that, no, enough's enough. I want the weight off. I want to look better. I want to feel better. I want to see my grandchildren. I don't want to be, I got to tell you, go to an emergency room and look at the level of people that are really not that old, that are in walkers or power chairs and not being able to get around. And I hate to say it, but they're, very overweight. Now, I don't know what the obesity numbers are, but the last time I looked, it was pretty staggering. Mm-hmm. So there's no bad news here. There is no bad news with losing weight. None at all,
No. I haven't had one person say, I wish I didn't do that.
Right. So I guess we're here to say that it's not just about, picking a program and trying to do it. You really need the whole matrix, which is what we offer. We're going to structure a plan specifically for people and really address those issues. What is your sleep like? What is your daily? And I beg people to be honest, because I always say, if you withhold information and it's not going to work, I don't want to take their money and help them with a program if they're not going to fully understand how it works. Because ultimately, we want them to be successful. So it's the whole matrix, the coaching, the right product, understanding maybe why you ended up in that position. And if someone is truly honest with themselves, then they have, in my opinion, a much higher percentage for that program to be successful and to maintain it long term.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. Anything else you want to add before we sign off?
I don't think so. I think that people don't realize that they have the power to do this. They just have to, like you said, make the decision, commit, and be open to working for it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's a commitment and an investment on themselves, and the benefits are just long lasting, and nothing tastes better than good health, for sure.
Yes.
All right, everybody. I'm Marcia Hawkins, along with Stephanie Nascimento, owner of Be Vital. I'm co-owner of Elevate Living Studio. If you'd like to reach out to us, Stephanie, why don't you give them your contact information?
Sure. So you can reach me at nurse@bevitalwellness.com. You can go to our website at bevitalwellness.com or call us at 413-387-0219.
And you can find us on elevatelivingstudio.com, and all our contact information is there. You can direct message me at 413-374-2100. Till our next podcast, we're just here to share the health.
See you then.